Hi, hey there. I'm Jen Rice, and I wanted to talk a little bit about vitamin D tonight. I had a friend of mine who we're in a group called Health Seekers, which we're talking about, questions that we have every day. And basically, she was saying that the only supplement she takes right now is vitamin D, and that was recommended to her by her doctor. And she's been taking it a couple years, and the reason he recommended it is because she was feeling tired, right? And she said that her blood levels, though, have remained low. She's just had very low vitamin D, just kind of ongoing. And she said that her doctor mentioned that maybe she was using too much sunscreen, and she was thinking that maybe she's not eating the right foods, maybe she needs other supplements. She just wasn't sure. So we started opening up this dialogue of vitamin D, and I wanted to give a little perspective, conventional medicine-wise, functional medicine-wise, on vitamin D and kind of what parameters people look under. And first of all, I think it's really important. Hey, you guys, thanks for jumping on. I appreciate you being here. I think it's important to talk about some of the things that vitamin D really can help. And if you're actually low in vitamin D, you can have some things going on. One thing would be getting infections, illnesses more often. That can be a sign of having low vitamin D. Increased fatigue, tiredness, that can be a sign. Back pain, bone pain, certainly a sign of low vitamin D. I was surprised at this one, depression. So depression can actually come from having a low vitamin D. Slow wound healing. So you get a wound, it just takes forever to heal. That can be an issue. Hair loss. Who would have thought hair loss from low vitamin D? Muscle pain, even high blood pressure and other autoimmune conditions have been linked to low vitamin D. Hey, Michelle, how are you tonight? I'm glad you're here. So I'm talking about vitamin D because it comes up all the time, and pretty much everyone we test is low. And you'll read some things where it says, oh, it's because of the rise of sunscreen. People just aren't getting enough sun. Okay, except that there are very, there's a lot of reasons to avoid some of the sun because of skin cancers, but you can get 10 to 15 minutes, and I think a lot of us would agree, the 10 to 15 minutes of sun a day, which is kind of what you need to activate vitamin D, is fine. And I think that what we're really missing here is the food part of this piece of the puzzle. So oftentimes, food comes back to being our best medicine. And I wanted to share with you guys a few of the numbers that people recommend as far as what to take vitamin D wise, in case you're curious. So the FDA has said that basically we need to have, the government says between 200 and 600 international units is what you should be taking a day. Well, Michael Holick, who is a professor of medicine, physiology, and dermatology, guy's got a lot of titles, right? At Boston University School of Medicine, he actually recommends 2,000 international units daily, or enough to keep your blood levels between 75 and 125, depending on the scale and the lab work. And this is something you can kind of write down, take to your healthcare provider and say, hey, I was reading about vitamin D, or I was listening to something about vitamin D. I'm wondering, since my blood levels need to be in this range, ideally between 75 and 125, can we follow this a little bit? Like, I'll increase my supplement and I'll come back and get it retested, and we'll see how I do. So you can be that active person with your healthcare provider and kind of working this out. And a lot of people have said, oh, you got to worry about toxicity of vitamin D. And I did read that they had this one study where they took healthy young men and they gave them 10,000 international units a day for 20 weeks. And they didn't have toxicity issues. Now, obviously, I'm not recommending people need to take a ton and just throw caution to the wind. No, you should definitely work with your healthcare provider to get your vitamin D level where it needs to be. So step one would be to get tested, right? See what your baseline is. See where you're sitting today. Step two is you want to get the right vitamin D. So D3 is, and it even comes in, there's liquid form or capsule. But the problem is D2, which is in a lot of over-the-counter supplements. And I got to be honest, I'm not a huge supplement shopper. I hadn't been until I got into functional medicine education. So I don't know how many bottles contain D2 and what contains D3, but I will say that if you check the bottle and it's D2, it's not bioactive. So you want to be looking for D3. And then if you're deficient, you're usually going to go on a higher dose for about 3 months. And then the doctor, provider, PA, NP, whoever you're seeing, when they recheck it, it may take 6 to 10 months total to correct. So when we were talking about this in the group, I like to throw out what we can do immediately beyond just grabbing more supplements, which are obviously there that you can take. But if you're already being supplemented and you're not feeling like it's making a lot of traction, you could try to get it through food sources. And here's a few food sources we can lean into a bit. Wild salmon, mackerel, sardines, whole organic eggs, cod liver oil, which is like 1 teaspoon. So let's say you're like, oh, I am not eating sardines, Jen, mackerel. I don't even know. I don't want that fish. Whatever. Maybe that's not your thing. You can get it through the cod liver oil, which is like 1 teaspoon a day, was what one practitioner recommended. Mushrooms, evidently, have a good source of vitamin D. Caviar, for my highbrow folks, if we want to do some caviar, or if you just, you have a good excuse to buy it now. Raw grass-fed milk. Obviously, if you're on an anti-inflammatory, eating plan, you may not be able to do the raw grass-fed milk, but if you're not, that sounds like a great option. And we want to look for the D supplements that do not have like added colors or fillers. And certainly, I'm sure there's a lot of them out on the market, but what we want to look for is the D3, remember. And then always work with your practitioner to see, like, well, where are you starting from? Because how are we going to know where you need to get to if you don't know where you're starting from? So hopefully this information has been helpful to you. I know that even the Journal of Pediatrics reported that 70% of children don't have enough vitamin D either. And it's probably not because they're not, I mean, in a way, you want to get people outside more and more, right? Kids should play outside. Yes, we are on devices and we're just coming out of, winter and that kind of thing. But I don't think the answer is like to just bake in the sun for long periods of time. Certainly you can get 10 to 15 minutes of natural sunlight. But let's look at these food options, and then the supplementation could be really, really helpful, because I think what the FDA has recommended for what we need to be at and what is really actually optimal for health, there's quite a gap there. So perhaps work with your healthcare provider on that. And I hope you guys found this information helpful tonight. If you know somebody who may be struggling with low vitamin D, doesn't seem to be able to get it up no matter how much supplementation they take, these kind of things, it could be an absorption thing, it could be the type of vitamin they're taking. If they are doing capsules, maybe they want to try a liquid option and kind of tease out if some things will be better absorbed if they're getting it diet-wise too, which would be great. And please feel free to share this video if you found it of value. And if you like this content, I do have a business Facebook page called Jenn Rice International. We do a little bit more share more articles over there and topics like this. I appreciate you guys for jumping on tonight, and I hope you have a great, great evening. And feel free to drop me any questions you have around vitamin D. I'm learning every day myself, and I certainly wasn't taking enough, for my own health and well-being. And you just kind of have to work at it with your practitioner to get it where it needs to be. Hope you guys have a great night. Talk to you soon.